Well, Shakespeare's Sonnet 94 is a very different sonnet from what we've read before. It has a different structure, kind of a different tone too. It's almost a proverb or a piece of wisdom literature, as we'll see. Here's Sonnet 94. They that have power to hurt and will do none, that do not do the thing they most do show, who, moving others, are themselves as stone, unmoved, cold, and to temptation slow. They rightly do inherit heaven's graces, and husband nature's riches from expense. They are the lords and owners of their faces, others but stewards of their excellence. The summer's flower is to the summer sweet, though to itself it only live and die. But if that flower with base infection meet, the basest weed outbraves his dignity. For sweetest things turn sourest by their deeds. Lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds. One of the reasons why this sonnet is different from what we've read before is that it begins with a meditation. It's like a meditative sonnet, like we've seen before in sonnets 12, 15, 18, 33. But usually the meditation sonnets begin with an octet, the first 8 lines, dealing with the natural world, and then in the sestet, the remaining 6 lines, applies that to the social world. Well, here the opposite is taking place. The first 8 lines have to do with the social order, and the last 6 mostly have to do with the world of nature, or the garden. But just to get a plain sense of this first quatrain, the speaker is talking about a person who shows temperance, it seems. That's one way to read this. They that have the power to hurt, but will not hurt, that do not do the thing they most do show. We might think that he's talking about someone who is powerful and authoritative, who's stern-looking, and yet shows mercy. Within the context of this sonnet sequence, or of the entire collection, rather, this could be a person who, moving others, are themselves as stone, unmoved, as someone who tricks other people to falling in love with them, but then doesn't fall in love themselves. And this seems like the probable explanation here, at least within the literary context of what else has taken place in previous sonnets. Yet we don't need to restrict the meaning of that to this one sonnet. If we take it as an organic whole, separate from the rest of the sonnets, then it could mean someone who shows great restraint against their emotions, who have rage but do not act on it, that sort of thing. So we have this repetition of do here, which is very striking. I mean, it's one of the, you notice it immediately. And this word power here, which will be linked in theme, I think, in contrast. Power here is the main theme of the octet, the first 8 lines. Flower is the theme of the later, and so there's a rhyming pair here. They, these who do not do the thing they most do show, they rightly do inherit heaven's graces, and husband here is a verb which means to farm or to reap, and husband or to care for, nature's riches from expense or waste. So they do rightly inherit heaven's graces, and husband care for nature's riches, saving it from expense. They are the lords and owners of their faces, others but stewards of their excellence. This is quatrain 2. So here's the octet, talking about the social order, and then he draws, and then the speaker draws this comparison to the flower. The summer's flower is to the summer sweet, again with repetition of the same word. Though to itself it only live and die. But if that flower with base infection meet, the basest weed outbraves his dignity. So this is one instance of assonance that is striking. Something here to note is that this idea that the flower, if it meets base or wicked or bad infection is something that happens from within. There's this idea, Colin Burrow mentions this in his commentary on the sonnets, there was this idea that if you touch a lily with your hand, then the lily would fester, it would become infected, and just wouldn't smell sweet, it would sour. So if the lily, as proud as it is, be infected, meet infection, then the ugliest weed and the lowest weed will outbrave or outlast the dignity of the flower. So this seems to be a warning to this person who has this power to hurt and will do none. And here it ends with this proverbial couplet: for sweetest things turn sourest by their deeds. Lilies that fester smell far worse than weeds. So it's a sonnet that's concerned with action. We saw the repetition of do here in the octet, and it comes again in the couplet here. Really, deeds, the noun of the verb do, that which is done. So it's concerned with decorum, it seems. It's concerned with how to move in social circles. But that's what this sonnet is about. And that's where I'll end the explanation. It's kind of a strange sonnet. I wanted to include it in the sequence because it's something that's unique to the entire collection. So if you notice anything that didn't get mentioned, please do mention it below. I would love to hear that. And thanks for watching, and until next time.